Welcome to HFY Galaxy Tales. Like this video and subscribe the channel for more HFY stories. The War Council convened in silence, which should have been my first warning that everything was about to go spectacularly wrong. I am Commander Veshtari of the Korvathian Imperial Fleet, and I have witnessed 17 planetary conquests without breaking a sweat from any of my 4 glands. But that day, sitting in the obsidian hall with the High Command staring down at me like I had just proposed surrendering to a species that still used combustion engines, I knew something was different. "Explain to me again," Grand Admiral Threxus said, his mandibles clicking in that specific rhythm that meant someone was about to get demoted, "how a single human managed to eliminate an entire strike squadron." I pulled up the holographic display, watching the footage for the 100th time. It still made my secondary heart skip. The target was identified as Marcus Trent, a human mercenary operating in the outer reach sectors. I began, keeping my voice steady. Intelligence reported he was alone, lightly armed, standard threat level. We sent Beta Squadron, 12 of our finest shock troopers, equipped with plasma rifles, tactical shields, and full combat armor. And Threxus leaned forward, his 6 eyes narrowing. And he killed them all with their own weapons. The room erupted. Not in panic, mind you. The Korvathian Empire does not panic. We engage in what I would call vigorous strategic reconsideration, which is absolutely different, thank you very much. "Impossible," shouted Defense Minister Krell, slamming 3 of his appendages on the table. "Our soldiers are trained from hatching. They are the finest warriors in 17 star systems." "Were," I corrected, probably sealing my own fate. "They were the finest warriors." The footage continued playing. There was Marcus Trent, looking utterly unremarkable by human standards. Average height, dark hair, wearing what appeared to be civilian clothing and carrying nothing more threatening than a small blade. He stood in the cargo bay of Station Theta 9, hands raised, seemingly surrendering as Beta Squadron closed in. What happened next still defied tactical analysis. The lead trooper, Sergeant Vaxlon, a decorated veteran of 40 campaigns, approached with his plasma rifle trained on the target. Standard procedure. Textbook, really. Except Marcus moved with a speed that our sensors barely registered, ducking under the rifle barrel, twisting Vaxlon's arm with such precision that the weapon discharged into another trooper's shield generator. The shield exploded. Not failed. Exploded. The feedback pulse knocked 3 soldiers off their feet. And then Marcus had the rifle. "Pause there," Threxus commanded. The image froze with Marcus holding the weapon, his expression calm, almost bored. "Your report says he had never used our technology before this encounter." "Correct, sir. According to all intelligence, he had no prior exposure to Korvathian weapons systems." "Then how, exactly, did he operate a plasma rifle that requires biometric authentication and neural interface?" I had asked myself the same question approximately 8,000 times. He shot Vaxlon first. While still holding his hand on the grip. The biometric sensor registered the sergeant's palm print. After that, the human seemed to just figure it out. "Figured it out," Threxus repeated slowly, like he was tasting something rotten. "He figured out technology that takes our soldiers 6 months of training to master. In approximately 4 seconds, yes, sir." The footage resumed. Marcus fired 3 shots, each one hitting a weakness in our armor that even our own troops sometimes forgot about, the neck seal joint. 3 soldiers down. He rolled behind a cargo container as return fire melted the air where he had been standing, came up throwing the rifle like a spear, impaling it through another trooper's visor, then grabbed the dead soldier's sidearm before the body hit the ground. "By the void," someone whispered. The remaining soldiers attempted a coordinated pincer movement, which would have worked brilliantly against literally any other opponent in the known universe. Marcus vaulted over a railing, landed in their midst, and what followed was less a fight and more of a demonstration in creative problem-solving. He used a plasma grenade, still attached to a trooper's belt, to blow open an ammunition crate. Used the explosion's concussive force to slam two soldiers into each other. Grabbed a tactical shield, deflected fire back into its source, then wielded the shield as a blunt instrument with such enthusiasm that our armor, rated to withstand meteor impacts, simply crumpled. The last soldier, Corporal Zentry, made the fatal mistake of attempting hand-to-hand combat. It lasted 6 seconds. Marcus disarmed him, quite literally, then used the severed appendage, still in its armor sleeve, to beat him unconscious. Then he calmly walked to the station's control panel, used one of the dead soldiers' access codes, which he had apparently memorized by watching them type it earlier, and locked down the entire facility. By the time our recovery teams arrived, Marcus had vanished into the station's maintenance systems, taking with him 4 plasma rifles, 2 sidearms, a full set of combat armor, and what remained of our dignity. The footage ended. The silence that followed was deafening. "This cannot stand," Threxus finally said, his voice dropping to that dangerous register that preceded orbital bombardments and career terminations. "The Corvathian Empire does not lose soldiers to lone primitives. We certainly do not lose them to primitives using our own weapons against us. This is a matter of honor now." I had been afraid he would say that. "Sir, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The humans have proven more capable than initial assessments suggested. This Marcus Trent may be an anomaly, but if we engage in further escalation without understanding his capabilities..." "Enough." Threxus's roar silenced me instantly. "I will not have cowardice in my command structure, Veshtari. We will send the Crimson Talons." My third lung collapsed in on itself. The Crimson Talons were not soldiers. They were artists, and their art was ending things that refused to die. Elite did not begin to cover it. These were the operatives we sent when planets needed quieting, when rebellion needed crushing, when the impossible needed to become very possible, very quickly. They had a success rate that would make mathematicians weep with joy. 0 failures in 300 years of operations across hostile territories that would make veteran soldiers retire early just from reading the mission briefs. "Sir, with respect, the Talons have never failed a mission in 300 years. Deploying them against a single human might be seen as excessive. The political optics alone could." "Excessive?" Threxus laughed, a sound like grinding metal being fed through a trash compactor. "Commander, this human has made fools of us. He has turned our technology, our training, our superiority, into a joke that is probably being told in every mercenary bar from here to the Andromeda Relay. The Talons will not simply kill him. They will make an example. They will show the entire galaxy what happens when you embarrass the Corvathian Empire. They will turn his corpse into a monument to our power." He turned to the tactical display, highlighting Station Theta 9's location with a gesture that somehow conveyed both menace and bureaucratic efficiency. "Assemble a team of 5. Our absolute best. Give them full access to the weapons vault, unlimited ordnance authorization, and complete tactical freedom. I want this human brought down so thoroughly that his own species erases him from their history out of sheer embarrassment. I want him deleted from existence with such extreme prejudice that reality itself forgets he was ever born. And if they fail, sir..." The look Threxus gave me could have flash-frozen a star and used it as a decorative paperweight. "They will not fail, Commander. Because if they do, you will personally lead the next assault. With a pistol and harsh language. Am I clear?" "Crystal, sir." The council dispersed, leaving me alone with the frozen image of Marcus Trent standing amid the bodies of Beta Squadron, looking like a man who had just finished a mildly interesting workout routine rather than single-handedly destroying an elite military unit. I began drafting the mission parameters for the Crimson Talons, my manipulators trembling slightly as I typed. 5 of our deadliest operatives against 1 human. It should have been overkill to the point of absurdist comedy. The kind of overwhelming force application that tactical academies would use as an example of how to absolutely, positively ensure mission success. Should have been. But I kept replaying that footage, watching the casual efficiency with which Marcus had turned our advantages into his weapons. The way he moved, like he had fought Corvathian soldiers 1,000 times before, despite this being his first confirmed encounter. The complete absence of fear or hesitation. The almost playful creativity in how he repurposed our equipment against us. Humans, I had learned in my intelligence briefings, had a saying, adapt or die. Marcus Trent had apparently decided that adapting meant taking your enemy's best tools and using them better than the enemy ever could. It was insulting. It was humiliating. It was, I had to admit with grudging respect, absolutely brilliant. I forwarded the mission brief to Talon Command and sat back, wondering if I should start composing my resignation letter preemptively or just skip straight to updating my will. The Crimson Talons accepted the assignment within the hour. Their team leader, a legendary operative known only as Scar, sent a single-word response, acknowledged. That was it. No questions, no requests for additional intel, no hesitation. Just acknowledgement and the implicit promise that Marcus Trent would soon be a footnote in Imperial security reports. Scar had eliminated threats on 47 worlds. She had single-handedly ended 3 rebellions before they even properly started. She once killed a target using nothing but atmospheric pressure and patience, waiting for the perfect moment when air currents and structural weaknesses aligned. If anyone could handle Marcus Trent, it was her. I tried to believe that. I really did. The mission launched 3 days later. 5 Talons, equipped with enough firepower to level a small city and tactical gear that cost more than most planetary defense budgets, inserted via stealth drop onto Station Theta 9. Their plan was elegant in its simplicity: seal all exits, flood the station with nerve gas, then sweep room by room until they found the body. Professional. Efficient. Utterly ruthless. Exactly the kind of operation that had made the Crimson Talons legendary. I monitored their progress from the flagship, watching their vital signs and tactical feeds with mounting anxiety that I absolutely did not acknowledge to anyone within 6 parsecs. Team inserted successfully, Scar reported, her voice modulated to emotionless precision by her helmet's comm system. Beginning lockdown protocol. All exits being sealed now. The station's exits sealed with a series of heavy clangs that the audio feed picked up clearly. The Talons moved through the corridors in perfect formation, weapons sweeping corners, sensors active, every possible angle covered by overlapping fields of fire. It was beautiful, really. A masterclass in small unit tactics. Contact, Scar announced suddenly, her voice still flat and professional. Target spotted, Section 7. Near the reactor core. Moving to engage. All units, combat formation Delta 3. This was it. 5 of the most dangerous beings in the Empire against 1 human. The outcome should have been predetermined, written in stone, as certain as gravity or taxation. The feeds showed the Talons converging on Marcus's position, their movements synchronized like a single organism with 5 deadly limbs. They rounded the corner simultaneously, weapons raised, tactical overlays painting target solutions across their visors, and found him sitting on a cargo crate, eating something that looked like a ration bar. He waved at them. Actually waved, like they were neighbors meeting at a community gathering instead of elite assassins coming to end his existence. Fire. Scar commanded. The Talons opened up with everything. Plasma bolts that could melt through starship hulls, micromissiles that could track targets through solid walls, directed energy beams calibrated to disintegrate organic matter at the molecular level. The section should have been vaporized, reduced to constituent atoms, erased from the physical universe. Instead, Marcus dropped through a floor panel he had apparently pre-loosened, disappearing into the maintenance tunnels below with the kind of timing that suggested he had been counting seconds. He knew we were coming, Scar said, and for the first time, I heard something in her voice that might have been surprise, or possibly respect, or perhaps just the early stages of professional concern. He prepared the battlefield. All units, switch to thermal imaging. He cannot hide from heat signatures. Talon 2, seal the tunnel exits. Talon 5, monitor for electromagnetic anomalies in case he is using our equipment. The talons adapted instantly, because that is what you do when you are the best of the best and someone throws you an unexpected variable. They moved to counter his advantage, professional and methodical. The reactor core exploded. Not catastrophically, not in a way that would destroy the station or kill everyone aboard, just enough to flood the section with superheated coolant gas that registered on thermal sensors like a miniature sun, blinding the imaging systems and forcing the talons to rely on visual targeting in an environment now filled with obscuring vapor. Clever, Scar muttered, switching her visor to multispectrum analysis. But predictable. He is using environmental advantages to negate our technological superiority. Standard guerrilla doctrine. Talon 3, advance with sonic mapper. Talon 4, establish overwatch position. We flush him out and end this. In the chaos that followed, Marcus took down the first Talon with that soldier's own shock baton, somehow getting close enough in the confusion to electrify him through his armor's weak point at the base of the spine where the power couplings created a microscopic gap. The second Talon fell to a micromissile, redirected via a reflective panel Marcus had positioned earlier. The projectile's own tracking system turned back on its owner with surgical precision that would have impressed our weapons engineers if they were not currently screaming into their status reports. This was not a fight. This was a masterclass in preparation meeting opportunity, a demonstration in how superior knowledge of terrain could overcome superior firepower, a lecture in tactical flexibility that was being delivered with extreme prejudice. And I realized, with growing horror that made my tertiary stomach clench, that we had not been hunting Marcus Trent at all. He had been hunting us. Every piece of intelligence we had gathered, every tactical assessment, every confident prediction about how this engagement would unfold, it had all been information he wanted us to have. He had set the terms of engagement from the beginning, and we had walked into it with the arrogance of an empire that had forgotten what it meant to face an enemy who actually wanted to win. Talon 3 is down. Scar's voice crackled through the comm, still disciplined but edged with something I had never heard from a Crimson Talon before, uncertainty bordering on actual concern. Repeat, Talon 3 neutralized. Target is using our own equipment protocols against us. How is he accessing our tactical network? Our encryption is military grade, quantum locked, theoretically unbreakable. How indeed? That was the question that would probably haunt me until my ceremonial execution for gross incompetence, which seemed increasingly likely with each passing moment of this absolute disaster. I watched the remaining 3 Talons regroup in a defensive formation, backs to each other, weapons covering all approaches in overlapping arcs of fire. Textbook response to an ambush scenario. The kind of maneuver that had saved countless operatives in impossible situations across hundreds of hostile engagements. Except Marcus Trent apparently did not read our textbooks, or if he did, he had written detailed notes in the margins about all the ways to exploit them. The lights in Section 7 went dark, main power cutting out with a finality that suggested deliberate sabotage rather than collateral damage. Emergency illumination kicked in, bathing everything in that sickly green glow that made even hardened soldiers nervous and threw off depth perception just enough to matter. Through the grainy feed, I saw movement, just a flicker at the edge of the frame, a shadow that might have been Marcus or might have been paranoia made manifest. Talon 4 fired at shadows, his plasma rifle spitting bolts that melted bulkheads and turned atmosphere into superheated vapor that created even more obscuring fog. Nothing. No body, no blood, no confirmation of a hit. Just wasted ammunition and increasing anxiety. Then Marcus dropped from a ventilation shaft directly onto Talon 4's shoulders. What happened next violated approximately 17 laws of physics and possibly a few moral ones too. Marcus rode the soldier down like some sort of deranged recreational activity from a human amusement park, using the Talon's own helmet as a grip while simultaneously yanking the rifle barrel upward with his legs in a move that should not have been possible given human skeletal limitations. The weapon discharged directly into Talon 5's chest plate at point-blank range, the plasma bolt hitting with enough force to light up every sensor in the sector. The armor held, barely, composite materials doing exactly what they were designed to do and stopping the bolt from cooking Talon 5 like a meal packet. But the kinetic impact launched him backward through a doorway hard enough to dent the bulkhead on the other side. Marcus hit the panel control as he rolled off Talon 4, and the blast door slammed shut with enough force to make the entire station shudder, sealing Talon 5 in a separate section and reducing the Talon's numerical advantage even further. 2 Talons left. Scar and Talon 2, whose name I suddenly could not remember, which seemed disrespectful given he was probably about to die in service to the Empire and would deserve at least the courtesy of being remembered by his actual designation. Fall back to extraction point, Scar ordered, her tactical assessment clearly reaching the same conclusion mine had. This mission was catastrophically sideways and getting worse with each passing second. Call for orbital support. We are burning this entire station and everything on it. Authorization code Crimson Alpha 7. I want this place reduced to its component molecules. A sensible plan. Reasonable, even. When ground forces fail, you apply overwhelming firepower from a safe distance and call it a strategic victory in the after-action reports. Nobody questions results when they come in the form of complete obliteration. Marcus, however, had other ideas about how this engagement would conclude. Extraction point is compromised, Talon 2 reported, his voice tight with the kind of stress that came from watching your teammates die in increasingly creative ways. He has sealed the hangar bay and vented the docking tubes. Our transport is gone, just floating debris now. Repeat, extraction is not possible. We are trapped in here with him. I felt my career dying in real time, each word of that report like another nail in the coffin of my professional future. Then we finish this here, Scar said, and I had to admire her conviction even as I mentally calculated how to phrase my inevitable court-martial defense. He is one human with stolen weapons. We are Crimson Talons. We have fought across hostile worlds, eliminated targets that entire armies could not touch, survived situations that would break lesser soldiers. We end this now, or we die trying, because I will not give the Empire the satisfaction of seeing us run. They moved through the station with renewed purpose, hunting instead of being hunted, or at least trying very hard to make it look that way. Scar took point, her rifle equipped with every sensor package we had invented over 3 centuries of warfare, scanning for heat signatures, motion, electromagnetic anomalies, biochemical traces, probably even existential dread at this point. The reactor section opened into a vast chamber, multiple levels of catwalks and machinery creating a 3-dimensional maze of firing angles and cover positions. Terrible ground for the defender, perfect for attackers with superior training and equipment who could establish overlapping fields of fire and eliminate any target regardless of how well they tried to hide. Except Marcus was not defending. He was standing in the center of the lowest catwalk, fully visible under the emergency lighting, holding what appeared to be Talon 4's plasma rifle in one hand and some kind of improvised device in the other that looked like he had cobbled it together from station components and sheer spite. Contact confirmed, Scar whispered, sighting down her weapon with the kind of precision that came from thousands of hours of practice. Taking the shot. Talon 2, cover fire on my mark. She fired. Perfect aim, perfect technique, perfect execution. The kind of shot that instructors would use as an example in training simulations. The bolt struck a magnetic containment field that absolutely should not have existed there, redirected at a 45-degree angle by forces that suggested Marcus understood our technology better than some of our own engineers, and melted through a coolant pipe overhead. Superheated liquid sprayed across the chamber, creating instant fog that turned the entire space into a sensor-scrambling nightmare that reduced visibility to almost nothing. Clever, Scar admitted, switching to audio tracking and motion prediction algorithms. But not clever enough. You can hide from our eyes, human, but you cannot hide from our training. Talon 2, flank left on my signal. I will draw his fire and force him to reveal his position. They moved as one, 2 predators closing on prey that refused to understand how thoroughly outmatched it was supposed to be. I heard Scar's breathing, steady and controlled through the comm, the mark of a professional who had done this 100 times. Heard the subtle mechanical whisper of Talon 2's servo-assisted armor compensating for his movements. Heard the ambient hum of the reactor spinning down from the earlier overload. I did not hear Marcus until he spoke, his voice calm and almost friendly. You know what I love about your species? His words came from everywhere and nowhere, acoustics bouncing them around the chamber like a ghost haunting its own death. You are so absolutely certain of your superiority that you never stop to ask the important question. What question would that be, human? Scar called out, still moving, still hunting, refusing to be baited into a static position that would make her an easy target. Whether I wanted you to find me. The entire reactor chamber shook, and this time it was not from an explosion or equipment failure, but from something worse, systematic structural failure that Marcus had apparently engineered during his preparation time. He had not just set traps. He had compromised the station's entire support framework in this section, turning the architecture itself into a weapon. Catwalks detached from their moorings with shrieks of tortured metal. Support beams twisted under suddenly redistributed loads. Gravity plating flickered and died as power conduits were severed. Scar and Talon too went weightless, their tactical advantage evaporating as they tumbled through zero gravity, all their training and equipment suddenly meaning very little when there was no up or down, no stable firing position, no way to use cover effectively. Marcus, somehow, had secured himself to a remaining fixed point and was already compensating for the changed environment, using the destruction he had created as both cover and tactical advantage. He shot Talon 2-3 times in the span of 2 heartbeats. Center mass, neck seal, visor. Clinical shots. Efficient kills. The kind of shooting that required either decades of practice or an absolutely terrifying natural talent that suggested humans might be more dangerous than our initial assessments had predicted.